This is Marcus Washington from Making the Cut, and I am joined by author of a lot of Notre Dame books, several Notre Dame books, Lisa Kelly. Lisa, how are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
I am doing great. So your books, even though it concentrates on Notre Dame athletics, just comes from a different angle from it. It's not only about the athletics, but it's also about how they've grown as people and how Notre Dame has played a part in that. Describe to us just kind of that process of learning about them both on and off the field.
Sure. I was in this crazy contest in 2012 for biggest fan of the Big East Conference. And that's kind of how I got the idea to start writing books. Became very aware that the media likes to focus on the negative stuff. And so when I started out doing the interviews, we wanted to focus on all of the really great things that these athletes are doing, after their professional careers are over and they're in their communities and the next chapter of their lives. So with each story, I kind of tried to do, hey, how did you get to Notre Dame? What was your experience like? And then where did your life take you after sports?
Was there a particular athlete or group of athletes that you find that their stories were kind of amazing at how they got to where they got to?
It's funny because every time I interview someone, I think, oh my gosh, this is the best story ever. And then I get to the next one, and oh my gosh, this is the best story ever. So, I've had the privilege to interview athletes from as far back as class of 1958, all the way up to like class of 2018. So I've spanned a pretty broad range. And, it's hard for me to pick a favorite because I think all of them are fantastic.
So you were a student there, and so it's not a Subway alum situation. You are an alum. Kind of describe your years at Notre Dame and how it groomed you for some of the amazing things you're doing now.
Absolutely. So my dad is a domer as well. He's class of 65. So, I grew up watching Notre Dame football. We lived in the Midwest until I was 10. So we made trips back to Notre Dame. Then we lived in Southern California and we saw, Notre Dame when they would play USC. So when I applied to Notre Dame, I hadn't been there since I was about 10. We didn't make a trip to see it. I just applied, and when I got in, it was like, okay, I'm going to Notre Dame.
So I don't know if you were at there. I think you said you were, but just some of the amazing games, whether it's the 88 game, well, the 88 game with Miami or the 93 game with Florida State. Just how special it is it for a Notre Dame game to be at home? That's a 1 or 2 or 2 or 5, or what's it like in that stadium for those games?
Yep, so I graduated high school in 1989. So I actually, in that national championship season, I was a senior in high school. So they played at USC that fall. So I did see one game, during that national championship run. But my freshman year, we're ranked number one, starting the season, national champions. And I mean, I didn't truly appreciate how lucky we were. My dad kept telling me, this is not normal. Like, you need to totally appreciate you're at the top of the world. Because, of course, when he was there, he had, Coheric, and he had some terrible coaches. So he only had 1 year of era. So he did have 1 year of greatness, but I had 4 incredible years. We had the first Michigan game under the lights. And then when I graduated in 93, one of my friends, she was an EMT. She worked on the field. And so she was a senior the following year. So she just sold me her ticket book. So I went back for every home game after I graduated. So I was there for that Florida State game. We were about 4 rows from the field. We were sitting right behind where Marcus Allen and OJ Simpson were set up to do
Oh
their
wow.
broadcast.
Gotcha. And how special was that day? I remember the broadcast and the build up to those two teams meeting at South Bend, and Notre Dame just got off to such a great start in that ball game.
It was incredible because the media never really gave Notre Dame a chance. The media was, oh, Florida State's going to come in there and just take it to the house, right? And Notre Dame definitely held their ground. We protected our house, and they deserved that number one spot for a brief moment until everything unraveled the next weekend. So
Yeah, yeah, the unfortunate Boston College game.
yeah,
Um,
it was
so
awful.
being an alum, how do you feel when people just want to insist that Notre Dame join a conference?
I think Notre Dame has some very unique characteristics to it. We have pretty high standards for academics, and I know people scream about that. We're never going to be a national championship winning team again unless they, loosen the academic restrictions. But that's kind of what Notre Dame is. We're an independent. They've sort of dipped their toe in the water with the ACC. We have 5 ACC games on the schedule, but I don't know that they'll ever fully join a conference. There's rivalry games like Navy and USC that they just don't want to let go of.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad you brought up the whole thing with winning a national championship. In the Notre Dame community, just how important is it? I know everyone wants to have a national champion, but for some schools, it's almost like do or die.
Yeah.
I've never got the impression that when I was with Notre Dame with its alumni base, yes, it would be nice to win a national championship, but I don't ever get the impression that anyone wants to compromise standards in order to win the national championship.
I don't think from the alumni base you get that, but from the fans, like the general fans, there's so much of, if we don't win a national championship every year, it's the end of the world. And if you talk to Lou Holtz about his last few years, he just was so exhausted by the constant pressure that if you're not playing for a national championship, you're not doing your job well. And he was at the top of his game and had Notre Dame at the top for years. But, he only won one national championship. So,
Well, 88, 89, and 93 were pretty darn special, whether it's one championship or not one championship. There were some
yeah.
special years at Notre Dame. But also with their current, you talk about high standards. Brian Kelly, to me, gets just unfairly criticized a lot. I think outside the Lou Holtz era, at least in my lifetime, it seems that Brian Kelly's been the most successful Notre Dame head coach. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about some of the criticism of him that comes up every year?
I think Brian Kelly is doing an outstanding job with, the restrictions that he has on recruiting and who he can go after. And, to have them, he's had 2 undefeated seasons, that's incredible. And sure, he didn't win a national championship, but he definitely has Notre Dame in it, and I can't complain about that. I know a lot of people do, but I think he's changed a lot too. He's adapted to the culture. And I think that as an alumni, I'm a lot happier with the 2020 version of Brian Kelly than maybe I was of, so there were some rough years at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's no doubt about that. I know the cameras being on him, and that was maybe one thing he didn't have at Cincinnati. The camera is constantly on you at Notre Dame, and I remember it was either first or second season. Some of the things on the sidelines that, as a former basketball coach myself, I'm kind of used to, but I also understood that some people were kind of like, "Oh my word!" Look at
Yeah.
what's
There was
going on.
a purple-faced Brian Kelly, screaming at a Tommy Reese and, a TJ Jones. And I'm sure he took a lot of heat for that. But, I find it interesting the last couple of years, he's done a better job at building relationships. So he's doing smaller dinners with different parts of the team to kind of, hey, I'm going to take the offensive line to dinner this week, and next week I take the running backs. And so he's definitely, gotten a lot better at building relationships. And I think that's important as a coach and a mentor, and a father figure for a lot of those guys.
So there's a question about where the Navy game will be played this year. Is there a preference in that you think of maybe a neat type of place to hold that game?
I think that needs to be somewhere on the East Coast if they're not going to do it in Ireland. I think Navy's actual stadium is too small,
Yeah, it
but
is.
there's plenty of venues in, Maryland and that area that I mean, I know we've done it. Um, we did it in Jacksonville, we did it in San Diego, but I think it's time to get it somewhere back on the East Coast, like Northeast.
Yeah. MetLife, I thought was the natural thing where the Giants and the Jets play.
Yeah,
Maybe Raven Stadium, but you're right. I've been to the stadium at the Academy. It's entirely too small
too small.
to,
Yeah.
to host the game of that ilk. So getting away from the sports altogether, please explain how did you get into the zoo business or how your family's in the zoo business and some of the joys at doing that.
I never expected to be a zookeeper's wife, so that's not something you hear every day. My husband's always been an entrepreneur. He's had all kinds of crazy. I mean, we ran a bar for a while. We had a fireworks stand. He was building houses. He built haunted houses and amusement park rides for about 25 years. And so through the haunted house business, he met this gentleman who had a haunted house in Branson. He also had this kind of, exotic animal park. And my husband came home and said, I think I could do a better job at the business side of that. We would still retain him to do all the animal stuff. And so in 2011, we bought the business entity and started learning about animals.
How fun is it, or what's the experience of having like a baby cub in your hand and just the interactions that now you have an opportunity to have?
It's incredible. I mean, we've had so many animals that, you never have the opportunity to be up and close with. We've had, baby lion cubs and just, I think my kids especially have had so many experiences that their friends just are so jealous over, what, you're bottle feeding a lion cub? Yeah.
That is great. So you do have a book out now, and your most recent book. Where can people get it from? And
There
there
it
we
is.
go.
It's called Triumphs from Notre Dame. And so my first two books were all about football. The new book I've kind of expanded to other athletes of other sports. So men and women, I've got football, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, women's soccer, women's basketball, women's track. I have one of the basketball players that played at Notre Dame for Muffet's first year as head coach
Okay.
at Notre Dame. So she has some great stories about Muffet in there. And if you order from my website, I personally sign everything and I ship for free. And it's echoesfromnotredamebooks.com.
All right. Thank you, Lisa, for taking time out. I know you are a busy person. I love the fact that you took some time out to speak for a few minutes.
Absolutely. I love talking to you.